So far, you might have heard a lot of positive things about studying in Germany, especially the fact that the free education is actually free. And also the festivals, there are many people from different cultures in the universities. But on this channel, I want to be transparent. In this video, I'm going to explain to you the hardest part about studying in Germany, because behind all the hype and the positive aspect, there is also a harsh truth behind the difficulty of studying in Germany. Let's start. The first thing I want to talk about here is the high academic demands, which is the part where most people don't usually take into consideration when they are considering studying in Germany. I myself, I wasn't aware about how high the academic demands were until I came here, because I was also new to the German education system, which, to be fair, is quite different from the other education systems inside of Europe and even outside of Europe. Studying here in Germany is actually not like in other countries. It's not about memorizing, and it's not about the standardized learning form. Actually, the university have the same format. We have like a semester long of lecture period, and then at the end of that semester you still have you have 2 weeks where you are going to be writing all of your exams in 2 weeks. The classes are generally only 1.5 hours long. Maybe in some other universities it might be a little bit longer, but that's generally the time frame, 1.5 hour long. And that's for a class, and that means you have more time actually to study independently or to be doing exercises, so you don't spend that much time in class. And even the classes are optional, you can attend them or not, and there's no one there to monitor if you go to class. There's no one to collect your name, there's no one to check if you're actually attending the lectures or not. So it's actually dependent on you, and you have the sole responsibility to actually make sure that the 1.5 hours or the class that you attend, you have to maximize it, and also make sure that you study by yourself, which is a little bit different from other conventional schools. Another thing is, at the end of the semester, when during these 2 weeks where you have your exams, you have to be super focused, because you write all of the exams in that period. And even if you have like projects, like if you're doing IT or AI, like I'm studying AI, sometimes you have projects where you have to present in that same time frame. So during this period of time, you have to be hyper focused and you have to be concentrated in order to make sure that you actually have your exams in good conditions. And also, one thing that is actually very, very worth mentioning is the fact that compared to other schools, when you register for a degree here, you are not automatically registered for the exams. So you need to actually register manually for the exams yourself, because here you have to actually choose the subjects that you want to write for, and it's up to you to register for those. And if you don't do that, you are going to have a lot of issues with the Prüfungsamt, which is very German. Trust me, the bureaucracy there is crazy, and you don't want to be confronted with that. And yeah, to be fair, there are also different like tutors and mentors and support that the school offers. There's big announcements, and you can even register late if you forgot to do that. Maybe you might pay some fee, some little fee, depending on the university, but you are not automatically enrolled to the subject, so you have to do that manually. So some people who usually go on long travels during the lecture semester period, because yeah, like I said, the classes are not mandatory, by that time they have to come back, they have to register for their exams, and they have to write the exams in that time period. I want to kind of explore a little bit the exam structure, because it's kind of worth mentioning. The exam is usually 90 minutes long, and one of our teachers, for example, told us the exam structure is meant to be 1 minute for 1 point. So generally, when you're writing the exam, it's 90 minutes long, and the points for the whole exam might be 90 points, or let's say depending on how the professor is actually measuring it, you are going to be trying to score 1 point per minute. And the material is actually very dense, so you are required to write a lot on the exams. I'm going to make a video where I go more in depth about how the exams are structured and how you are supposed to write them, so make sure you subscribe to the channel to watch that video. But now I want to talk about what makes these academic standards to be reachable actually more difficult, which is one thing that really hits you hard as a student is the work and study balance, because as a student, like the German statistics says that 2/3 of students actually finish their degree while working a part-time job. So when you're studying in Germany, generally you will have to work as a part-time, especially when you are not supported by your parent, or if you're not fully supported by your parent or a sponsor. And this is one of the things that actually make it very hard to catch up with the exam. And don't get me wrong, Germany has a very good work culture. You as a student is allowed allowed to work up to 20 hours per week, and during the semester break you can work even up to 40 hours per week, and for the whole year you are allowed to work 140 full days or 280 half days. And although this might sound very nice on paper, but when you're actually studying, it's very difficult to actually work that much and actually get good grades. So sometimes you have to trade off getting the good grades and getting the finances. You have to actually, if you really care about your grades, you cannot really be working all the 20 hours per week, because it's to be noted that in Germany here, the Sunday is off, so no one is working on Sundays. Most things are closed. So you have only Monday to Saturday to work. Let's say you work on Saturday, that's only 8 hours if you're working like the whole day, if you have a full-time shift. And during the week, you actually have to cut off your study time and your school time to actually get to work more. And that's why sometimes during the semester, you might want to actually trade off a few subjects to get them in the next semester and just jungle if you're actually working as a student to finance your whole studies. That being said, it's not that bad, especially for those of us who are from third world countries. It's actually an opportunity to be able to actually finance our studies even if we don't have a huge support from our families. So time management will be the skill that you will need the most, especially because you will sometimes have to trade your social life or even any other pleasure that you have in order to achieve your goals. And to be fair, there's no true balance in this. If you are working and studying, and also you need to have good grades, and also you have the language, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So it's actually, there's no balance. You have to trade off something in order to achieve your goals. The next thing that I want to talk about is the language barrier. This is more or less the elephant in the room, because your German language skills are what will determine how easy or how hard your life as a student in Germany actually is. And although most Germans actually speak English, they usually don't want to speak English, and usually they're going to avoid speaking English because, yeah, why would a German want to speak a foreign language in his own country? So generally you will need the German language, and it is going to actually help you a lot in different situations, even if you are furthering an English degree like I am. When you actually arrive here for the first week or so, and you have to do some bureaucracy work, you have to do some paperwork either with the Bürgeramt or even with the Rathaus, you actually need to be able to speak German, because most of the time when you reach there, you will have to read some documents in German. You can use your Google Translate, that's fair, but you have to speak with the clerks and everyone who's going to talk with you there. And my first experience with that was actually very difficult, because when I came, I didn't know I'm in Bavaria, so most people speak Bavarian, and I didn't know there was German and German dialects, Bavaria. So when I went to the office, I couldn't hear anything. I could speak German a little bit, but I couldn't hear what they were saying clearly because it was in Bavarian. So you need to actually have some German skills. And another reason for that is because when you're looking for jobs, either when you're looking for your internship or even when you are doing part-time job, you need to be able to speak a little bit of German if you want to increase your chances of getting hired. The reason is because, like I said earlier, almost all Germans speak English. So when you're going for an English specified job, you're competing not only with the international students, but you're also competing with the German students. And no employee would rather employ a student that speaks only one language, which is English, and a student who speaks two languages, which is German and English. And for your integration, that's also very necessary, because depending on your language level, you might have a very difficult time in Germany, because if you are encountering a situation, whether it's on the train, whether it's in the city, or whether it's in any at work or any environment where you are, if you can't speak German, you will have a very hard time asking for the directions or even asking for help or even expressing yourself to ask for something. That is without mentioning that in the smaller cities, almost no one speaks English. So you have to, when you go to the supermarket or when you go anywhere, any interaction, you will be needing German. In the bigger cities, it's a little bit I would say easier, because there's a lot of foreigners, there's a lot of people who speak English, so it's a little bit easier. But the language barrier is one of the hardest things, and also German is not an easy language to learn. German is actually one of the most difficult language you might have to learn, but then you have no choice. When you're in Germany, you need to learn the language, and you need to learn it as fast as possible in order to ease your time here in Germany. The last thing I want to talk about here, which I will not emphasize too much on, is actually the loneliness or the homesickness. And I don't want to emphasize too much on this because it's actually individual experiences. Some people will come to Germany and not experience that too much, depending on whether you have friends or if you are coming from a far different country, or if you are just in Europe and you are in the same environment more or less. But for someone who is coming from a background where the society is more social, like for me, for example, in my country, we don't have days where we spend in a building in our rooms. We don't even greet the neighbors when we get out, or the neighbors don't greet us, and everyone is just goes off to his own or her business. We don't actually have that, so it's actually very, very difficult to stay here in Germany, especially like we have a zombie day, a Sunday, which is Freitag. And for the whole day, you might not even meet someone. You might not even, except you are going out to eat something, or if you are going to church, you might not even go out most of Sundays because everything is closed off. And also, it's very, very difficult to socialize in Germany. A lot of people mention that, but I myself, like I said, it's individual experience. I myself didn't have a hard time having friends here, especially because my degree is in English. It's easier for me to approach people, and I speak a little bit of German, so it's even easier for me to approach German people. And I don't usually care about barriers. If I want to speak up with someone, I will speak up with them. If I feel like the vibe isn't going through, then I stop. I don't usually just judge based on the facial expression of Germans that we know, or the Germans there. But yeah, the loneliness and the homesickness, sometimes you might be in your room and you will start to feel like you are back home, but then you hear German around you, and that just reminds you that you are in a foreign country. So the loneliness is actually a very independent experience. Some people integrate themselves very well, some people don't. For whatever reason, I have some friends who come here and they don't just feel it and they go back to their home countries, which is very okay, which is very fair. And even socializing with different cultures is actually very, very difficult. But yeah, these are the hardest parts for me about studying in Germany, which also includes the hardest part about living in Germany. And also, I made a video talking about the difficulty and the truth about studying AI in Germany, which is the video that I will link at the end of this video. And yeah, tell me, what's your experience studying in Germany, or if you plan to study in Germany, let me know in the comments what you want to study, and also what you feel might be your biggest challenge among these difficulties. And make sure to like this video if you found it interesting, like and subscribe to this channel for the upcoming videos, and till we meet in the next one. Goodbye.